So I mentioned wanting to make something to stabilize the bench and to stop it from rolling around. And I think I've come up with a solution, a possible solution. I'm not 100% sure of the design, but if we take a look at the bench, we've got basically 4 posts, 1 on each corner. And so what I think I'm going to do is make something that goes up inside of here, and then I can lower the leg down, put a pin in, and then perhaps flip a lever or turn something and have it basically stabilize the bench. So that's the idea. I'm going to look at my materials and see what I have that I can make work. So this is probably one of the more foolish ideas that I've had, but I have these 2 axles out of a Chev truck, I believe. I carted these all the way back from New Brunswick. So I think what I'm going to do is cut one of these off and turn it down in the lathe so that it fits in and out. I could use this 1-inch round stock, which is already the right size. The reason why I don't want to use that is because I actually purchased that material and it doesn't really fit with the theme. I did a bit more looking around and realized that I could also use this. It's an original part of the generator frame. You can see it's the same color, and it actually used to mount in this direction. It would have gone like something like this. These go up in there. So alright, so what I'm basically going to do, I think, is build a couple of bushings that are then welded into the frame, and then use some 5/8 shaft, weld on some brackets, build some levers with an over center pivot mechanism, and do that for each side. So that'd be 8 bushings, 4 shafts, 16 levers, something like that. Anyway, I'll just show you basically in a quick sketch of what I think I'm going to do. Alright, so I've come back with this, which represents the thing that I just put on the cardboard here. Let's see if I can get something to prop this up. Alright, so what do they do with my pencil in my pocket? Alright, so we have this lever system, and if I put pressure on it, you can see it's going to go down like such, and this part goes to the left and this part goes down. Eventually it would just collapse on itself like that. If we pull up on it, it ends up getting straight and taller. So now when I get this pivot to the point where it lines up between these 2 pivots, if we draw a straight line between those 2 pivots, if this pivot ends up getting to center, the force actually neutralizes. So if I could stand this up perfectly straight and push straight down on this, the lever won't go to the left or to the right. It wants to just stay where it is. I could, if I had this perfectly balanced, I could put 1,000 pounds on top of here or whatever would till it sheared the bolt. If I had it perfectly balanced, it wouldn't go to the left or to the right. It would just stay where it is. But as soon as I move a little bit to the left, it would collapse to the left, and as soon as I move a little bit to the right, it would collapse to the right. Now, this is quite commonly used in latches and other types of mechanisms, and I plan on using this system to build the lift mechanism for my bench. So basically, what I will have is this system, but with a lever attached to this. So this piece here will have an additional arm attached to it. So now what's going to happen, this pivot is going to be on a tab that sits on the arm of the, or rather the leg of the bench. And then there's going to be a shaft that comes through here. This arm will attach to the foot in some manner. And so what's going to happen, as we can see, the force from the bench in this position would be pushing this mechanism just to collapse. So what I'll have to do is have a pin or some sort of stop so that the bench can't collapse that far. And then we have our wheel. And the wheel of the bench actually will sit below the foot at this point. So we've got the wheel here that's attached to the bench. So the weight is actually on the wheel and not on the foot. So what is going to happen is when I need to use the bench, I will push down on this arm. And what will happen when I push down on this arm, this is like this, it's going to do it like this and make it easier to see. When I push down on that arm, it will fold this like that. And when it does that, you can see it stands taller. So what it's going to do, when I push down on this, it's going to move this in that way. Once this center pivot, maybe I used the wrong word, center. Once this middle pivot crosses this line, the weight on it is now trying to push it this way. So right now, the way it is, the weight is trying to push it that way. But as soon as it passes center, it's going to try to collapse in this way. Well, what's going to happen is this arm, once it gets to that point, this pivot is going to be over here. So now I'll redraw this over on this side. And we will have the leg with the piece going through it with the foot on it. And then we will have the arm, but this arm now will be on the other side of the center line. So if we draw these tabs back on here again, draw where the hole is, our pivot now will be like this. And this arm that I step on will be like that. Let's see, where would that? Okay, right there. And then we've got our pivot hole. And then we've got the thing connected to the foot, and that's going to come up like that. So now if we draw a straight line between this hole and this hole, we can see that this middle pivot hole is past center that way. So the weight that's pushing on the foot is trying to push this arm into the leg of the bench, which it can't push it through, so it will just push against. No matter how much weight I push down with, it won't go anywhere. As soon as I lift up on this arm, as soon as it goes past center, I'll lift up on the arm, and as soon as it goes past center, the weight will then make it go whoop, and collapse back into this position where the weight will be on the wheel. I know this is probably confusing for some people, but it's fairly simple mechanism. It's just kind of hard to draw out. So hopefully I'm able to actually build one of these and make it work, and I'll share that with you guys. If you follow my videos, you will remember I made a bushing for my buddy. And the first one that I made, the dimensions actually turned out to be wrong. So I ended up with this bushing that I had made that wasn't the right size for what he needed, and I think I can use this as part of my project. I should be able to cut this off to about 1/2 inch pieces, and at that length I will get enough of these to do the whole bench, so that will save me a whole lot of work. So hopefully this works out for me. I have this acetal Delrin, not sure what it's called, but I have this high density plastic, basically like Teflon, and it's a lot easier to work with, it's a lot easier to cut, it's a lot easier to shape, and it will allow the legs to slide a whole lot nicer. Remember, kids, always wear your safety goggles. So there's going to be one sitting up, say about here, and one sitting about here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off sections of this 3/4 inch solid bar, about 4 or 5 inches long. And I'm going to drill through these and put pins in. So basically I'm going to make the bushing move with this pin, and the sliding surface will actually be inside of the leg. So this whole thing will go up into the leg and it will slide up and down in there. I'm going to have to start a new alphabet system because I am now on plan U. I'll show you guys what my latest plan is. It's not too different from the last one, but here it is. So I'm going to use the same 3/4 inch shaft, but instead of using the frame of the bench to put the post in, I'm actually going to attach this either to the outside of it or here, I'm not sure. And then the idea is that this will fit inside of there, and I can have the end of it exposed, so this will be cut off shorter, and this piece will actually stick up out of the pipe, and then I can have a mechanism that pushes down on it. I'm just going to stop trying to explain it to you guys and just build it, and you can follow along. piece here and a piece here. As you can see, it's actual Lincoln wire. Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I'll break those pieces off and hope that it doesn't cause me troubles down the road. That's just about perfect. So we have that through there, and that in there, that on there, and then we weld that to here. What happens when we turn this is it will lift the bench. See, when it's sitting relaxed, it's right there. And then when it's up all the way, I guess it's only going probably about, probably 9/16. 9/16 or 5/8. So these feet have to run really close to the floor, which shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, I'm going to continue ahead with this plan and see where it takes.